In a city where dreams are both born and crushed, how far would you go to achieve success? This is a story about the dark side of ambition, the choices we make, and the consequences that follow. Join us as we explore the chilling tale of Kola and the Detty December Sacrifice, a ritual that promised everything but demanded more than anyone could ever give. In the bustling city of Lagos, where the air was thick with the scent of roasted plantains and the sounds of Afrobeat music spilled from every corner, there lived a young man named Kola. Kola was ambitious, charming, and full of dreams. But like many young Nigerians, he felt trapped in the cycle of suffering and smiling, working long hours as a mechanic in a small, dusty workshop. He yearned for more money, more fame, more life. He wanted to be someone, to matter in a city that often swallowed people whole. One December, as the festive season approached, Kola heard whispers of a ritual that could change his life. It was called the Detty December Sacrifice, a secret pact made with ancient forces to grant wealth, success, and favor. The stories were vague, told in hushed tones, but they all agreed on one thing: it worked. Those who performed the ritual lived lives of luxury, but the details of the cost were always left unsaid. Kola, desperate and driven by the allure of a better life, decided to seek out the truth. He traveled to Ibadan, where an old Babalawo, a priest of the Yoruba tradition, was said to reside. The journey was long and arduous, but Kola's determination was unshakable. When he finally arrived at the Babalawo's compound, a modest structure hidden deep within a grove of ancient trees, he was greeted by the old man himself. The Babalawo was frail, with skin like cracked leather and eyes that seemed to pierce through time. He listened to Kola's plea in silence, his expression unreadable. "The spirits do not give without taking," the Babalawo finally said, his voice low and gravelly. "Are you prepared to pay the price?" Kola, blinded by his desire, agreed without hesitation. The ritual was performed on a moonless night. A black goat was sacrificed. Its blood spilled into a calabash filled with herbs and strange powders. Kola drank the mixture, his throat burning as he swallowed the bitter concoction. The Babalawo chanted in a language Kola couldn't understand, and the air grew heavy, as if the world itself was holding its breath. When Kola awoke the next morning, he felt different. His pockets were inexplicably filled with cash, and opportunities seemed to fall into his lap. He quit his job, started a successful car dealership, and soon became one of the most talked-about young entrepreneurs in Lagos. He bought a mansion in Lekki, drove the latest cars, and partied with celebrities. Detty December became his lifestyle, not just a season. For 5 years, Kola lived the life of his dreams. He traveled the world, dined in the finest restaurants, and rubbed shoulders with the elite. But as the 6th year approached, strange things began to happen. It started with dreams, vivid, unsettling dreams of a sleek, black mamba with eyes that glowed like embers. The snake would coil around his bed, its forked tongue flicking as it whispered things he couldn't quite hear. Kola would wake up in a cold sweat, his heart pounding, but he dismissed it as stress or exhaustion. Then the snake began to appear in his waking hours. At first, it was just a glimpse, a flicker of movement in the corner of his eye, but soon it was everywhere. It slithered across the floor of his office, draped itself over the shoulders of his guests, and even appeared in the reflection of his bathroom mirror. But no one else could see it. His friends and colleagues thought he was joking when he mentioned it, and his girlfriend Ada grew increasingly concerned as he began to withdraw from social gatherings, his once charming demeanor replaced by paranoia and irritability. The snake spoke to him in a voice that was both soothing and menacing. "You owe us, Kola," it hissed. "The debt must be paid." Kola tried to ignore it, throwing himself into his work and his social life, but the snake grew more persistent. Its voice became louder, its presence more oppressive. It began to interfere with his life, causing him to lash out at friends, miss important meetings, and lose his grip on reality. His once thriving business began to crumble, and his lavish lifestyle slipped through his fingers like sand. One night, as Kola sat alone in his mansion, the snake appeared before him, larger than ever. Its eyes bore into his soul, and its voice echoed in his mind. "You thought you could escape the price, Kola, but the spirits always collect their due." Terrified, Kola returned to the Babalawo, begging for help. The old man's compound was unchanged, but the Babalawo himself seemed older, more fragile. He listened to Kola's frantic pleas with a somber expression, then shook his head sadly. "The ritual was not just a bargain, Kola. It was a bond. The snake is the manifestation of your debt. It will not leave until the debt is paid, in full." "And what is the debt?" Kola asked, his voice trembling. The Babalawo looked at him with pity. "Your soul." Kola's world collapsed. He tried everything: prayers, offerings, even consulting other spiritualists, but nothing worked. The snake remained, its whispers driving him to the brink of madness. His friends abandoned him, his wealth evaporated, and his mind fractured under the weight of his guilt and fear. In a last-ditch effort, Kola sought out Ada, hoping that her love and support could save him. But when he arrived at her apartment, he found the snake coiled around her shoulders, its eyes glowing with malevolent glee. Ada, oblivious to its presence, greeted him with concern, but Kola could only stare in horror as the snake hissed, "She is part of the debt too." Kola fled, his mind unraveling. He wandered the streets of Lagos, muttering to himself about a snake that no one else could see. His once bright eyes were hollow, his spirit broken. The people who passed him shook their heads, whispering about the dangers of dabbling in things beyond their understanding. And as the sun set over the city, the snake coiled around Kola's shoulders, its voice a soft, sinister whisper in his ear. The debt must be paid.
Epilogue.
Years later, the story of Kola became a cautionary tale, told in hushed tones during Detty December celebrations. Some said he was still wandering the streets, a shell of his former self. Others claimed he had disappeared entirely, taken by the spirits to settle his debt. But one thing was certain: the allure of quick success came at a price, and Kola had paid it in full. In the quiet corners of Lagos, where the shadows grew long and the air grew still, people would sometimes swear they saw a sleek black mamba slithering through the darkness, its eyes glowing like embers, and they would whisper, "The spirits always collect their due."